Hallowed be thine, my friends and family and enemies. Today, I'm broadcasting right here, back here from the top of the Continental Divide, one of my favorite healing spots, at least without private transportation. And I want to talk to you today in the traditional way because it's that time, the timeless now. 11 a.m. on Sunday is every day for all I care, because I'm born again in her love. I'm not in the matrix. I'm here and not there. And so, for my Gnostic e-church today, I'm going to read you one of the books that shocked my heart awake more than, was in the top 5 or whatever in the library of the Nag Hammadi. And first, I'm going to talk about the false self's version, the perversion, the conversion to the inversion of the fallen angels. I am isolating Anunnaki masters and unity. Which will you choose to be a part of? When investigating even a portion of the actual truth of our history, we find that our supposed creator's single entity was a group of powerful ETs. Known as the Elohim or Anunnaki, these dark masters of illusion and originators, not of the human, but of the matrix louche farm soul-sucking plain net. And they're definitely master mathematicians. They're masters of numbers. They love to hijack the numbers on these type of transmissions if possible. These dark masters of mind control are not the original God, but the originator of the matrix louche farm soul-sucking plain net. And after Lucifer 4's rebellion, around 1 million years ago, according to Lisa Renee's psychic research, they set up the brotherhoods. I just finished reading the book, The Gods of Eden, about a month or 2 ago. And the book really is really devastating for someone in one of my bloodlines, because he pretty much nails every brotherhood or he ties secret societies to all of the wars and natural disasters, etc. But there's also that book also corroborates, or it might have been the source of the evidence that ETs actually dumped the plague in whenever that was, that I think it was for several hundred years in the 1400s. But that people saw the saucers go by and dump stuff that caused it. So it's interesting. So they set up the brotherhood, from the Brotherhood of the Snakes in Atlantis to the Jesuits, the Freemasons, the CIA. They set it all up. All these secret clubs, secret societies, and the brotherhoods, religions, kingships, and governments, all through their lies and mastery over their weakened subjects. In other words, by getting us to run all these wars and killing ourselves, getting on our knees and sacrifice our firstborn and all these things over the course of 1 million years, you see what's happened to humanity, right? So Lucifer 4 actually got he was really successful at his amazing vampirism to steal the energy for this long. So the extremely traumatized human race, as a truly awakened person knows, God really is love in unity, peaceful, and granted us free will. She gave us free will. The original human experiment, when humans were first dropped on this planet, was the law of non-aggression, the law of free will. You're not allowed to harm anyone else, or you're breaking the law. But Yaldabaoth, or the demiurge, infused us with archontically with Anu powers, gave us endless wars, satanic ritual abuse, dogma, all the different man-made GMO so-called medicines, and a very long-standing, powerfully inverted separation. From all of this trauma bonding, war, and weaponizing of needs. And it was one of the videos I had that was removed because you're not allowed to speak about that. So now capitalism, through rents, taxes, and mortgages, have put even some of the richer folks I knew in Santa Cruz County, especially, for example, into financial survival mode. Look closer, humans. Many of you get on your knees mentally or even physically to worship your divine ET slave masters, and not even just those in the three Abrahamic religions. I mean, all of those who are Luciferians, all of those who worship the fallen, all narcissists that are high on the scale, all tyrants, and all the people who just get on their knees, and all solipsists and all borderlines, all those who accept the fake reality are going to get what they deserve, and it's going to be they're going to tighten the reins more and more, because that's their thing. Is they want you to be the cow, they want you to just be oblivious, and if you're wealthy, they want you to be drugged out and oblivious. Just church is an obvious inversion when you think about it from the Gnostic perspective. Why did they have to burn down the beautiful Cathar village? Was it because Lucifer 4 wanted there to be a really beautiful word so that we never forget them? Cathartic. No. It was because they wanted to erase the memory of them. Instead, because humankind was originally created in the image of the divine Christ Sophia, they could not erase the truth entirely, just 96% of it. So the thing is that we need community, we need, hence the capture, not just through trauma bonding, but through the human's need through community. And you look what happened 5 years ago. Look at how much they forced their card. Look at how the fallen angel forced their card on us all. All followers of exoteric B-Lifes, BELIEFS, are in a horrible Lush extraction Stockholm syndrome to various degrees. I mean, depends on what they believe, but to some various degrees. They worship the usurper imposters that brought rule by fear, war, and forced separation. And the same brilliant demigods that made us human, that made these human flesh suits need to consume cholesterol to not die. We were probably vegan over 1.5 million years ago, from my guess. We could be in the future, but right now, it's very unhealthy. So, they are isolating Anunnaki, masters of human oblivion, to keep the loose farm going, to keep the matrix going, to keep the soul-sucking memory wipe going. That God is hate. God is jealous. God is vampiric. And God is extremely good at these morally retarded inversions. And why? Because this is how it's Ouroboros, a dark Ouroboros that feeds itself on all of our misery, continual misery, endless war. He loves. You get on your knees and worship this being that loves to keep us all alone. And the black magic cube has done a great job in this. Okay? When I congratulate them and compliment them, it's not because I want to. It's because I want to explain to the audience and myself that you got to be humbled by the powers. You can't underestimate. For one thing, the organization of the enemy. The enemy As long as you haven't done the shadow work, as long as I'm not 100 or 96 or 92% clear of my own personal shadows and bullshit, I could never underestimate the power of the inner me to do harm if I'm not clear. Okay, I'm no exception to this. Okay, I'm not going to pretend to be perfect. But when you realize how great of a job, to put machinery in a planet as huge as Saturn, it's amazing. They strap those little black cubes on their third eye and circle counterclockwise around Mecca for a reason. It's not just because they want to be cute or stylish. It's because that is a power, Saturn has a wildly conservative, wildly inverted power there, and then some psychics say that there's a black hole called Abaddon. You've probably heard me mention it in 6 or 7 different videos if you watch my videos, and so the idea, I think Lisa Renee was saying, is that it leads to suck our, they want to suck our energy into this black hole. It leads back into perhaps the antiverse where the Draconians or the Archons could actually live. The Cube Tech has done a brilliant job. Especially when they unleashed the cell phones and laptops wireless on us with all the DARPA using these blue screens and all the harmful effects that they knew they were going to create, according to Dr. Jack Cruz, KRUSC, and I agree with him in that. So you got to admit that the fake gods have done a great job in this, but it is an energetic, sucky black hole, just like the fake Archon. Just like the fake Archon minds they etherically sewed into us. When Carlos Castaneda said, the Flyers did an incredible, stupendous trick. They gave us their minds. Or something to that effect with more brilliant words. He wasn't exaggerating. Because they programmed Lucifer 4, not only unplugged our DNA, but programmed his stupid, pathetic, what we call the archonic overlay into us. And again, if you don't meditate or, take copious amounts of cannabis and have discernment and gnosis about the truth about all this, that the human mind is a porous radio set, you're going to lose. If you think all those idiot thoughts are your own, you're done. Okay, that's what I'm here to help you to transcend. If you have the courage, so few have the courage to even, because these Illuminati people run the mainstream media. They just, it's too easy, and they're lazy. Just like Bible thumpers, mainstream religious followers, they're too lazy to think for themselves. They can't. They're scared to get abused. They can't. They're scared the devil's going to punish them, which they would. So they can't think out for themselves outside the box. But those of you who actually understand what I'm saying, the truth is not a simplistic story written by E.T. enslaver victors, The history books are, but the truth is not. It is way more complex. There are good and evil in all sects, beliefs, clubs, and cliques, and that can make it even all the more confusing. We are simple and complex. There have always been good and bad Anunnaki. Was Jesus Christ or Yeshua an Anunnaki hybrid on the side of truth and freedom, like the guardian angel who dropped me off at this hot spring for the first time? I'd say in the real teachings before Nicaea, yes. In other words, if you're a Gnostic, if you actually get the, if you get what, for my opinion, is the real Bible, or part of it. You know, you could always add books to the Bible, the Catholic Church. The thing that one of those things that all the Bible thumper mainstream denominations, all of them, from the Jews, the Catholics, the Protestants, the Christians, and what they don't want you to know is they all are like Osho. They all took from different things, from pagan, from all kinds of different mystical traditions of good and evil, and mixed it in, and they were all mixed in. So they tell you the truth, just like a politician. That's how they, built their political empire back then, And so likewise, my friend Dr. Kimberly McGeorge admits having Anunnaki DNA, that she's from one of these, 13 bloodline families. But unlike one of my other famous friends, she doesn't want to, make a big name for herself, and by using the name. So by telling people what it is, this DNA has obvious problems and brilliance. Let's face it. I mean, if it wasn't brilliant, how would they have done such a great job in strapping our consciousness down and keeping our frequency lowered so well? Just as an aggregate, the whole human race. I mean, how would they have done such a great job? Both teachers have shown, both say Jesus Christ, Yeshua, and Dr. Kim have shown residues of Anunnaki problems, of course, like narcissism or the Savior program. But yet they've told everyone the truth. So again, there's good and bad in all kinds of pretty much every group. That's why the whole thing has made it this far. The I am imposters, or in other words, the isolating Anunnaki masters of mind control and deception have always operated in secret. That's the key, man. Okay, in the age of Aquarius, there cannot be any more secrets. So when the fake gods, the fallen angels, the new boy creators actually did such a great job with religions, and they did such a great job with MK Ultra, then they did such a great job with cell phones, and they did such a great job with all the internet platforms and the censorship. And so they're like, oh, then they tried the Humans 2.0 experiment and did such a great job. And it's like, well, they're going to let me talk now because they're sure they've already won. Man. That's, it's pretty obvious, But the thing is that this is their greatest weakness, is the narcissist. Not only is a soulless black hole, but he's sure he already owns everything. So, but they always had to operate in secret and isolation, and so the age of Aquarius is post-apocalyptic, post-revelation. It means revealing. Apocalypse is the speaking of the truth, So we're post-apocalypse, post-speaking the truth. We're post-disclosure, post-revelation. So it's the most exciting time to be alive, and maybe one of the most dangerous. So when people can see that the secret societies and churches are pretty much almost always brought together through lies, fear, or control, desire for control and guilt, and through isolation. To this day, householders, priests, rabbis, most normies rule over humans and control them by forced separation. I mean, look what happened in 2020 for the greatest example. But I remember this, it's probably in Playboy, But I remember this cartoon that once I saw that showed a woman nursing a baby, and then on a bench in the park or something in the city. And they were comparing their normal housewife life to being in a cult, and how they were just totally isolated there with the baby and just all alone. And it was like, They were in in a cult. So for healing, if you still have this, or your loved ones, or your NPC loved ones, or whatever, pseudo loved ones, if you still have this issue, you can try visiting a place like I'm at here, where visit a place in public, and try visiting public spaces outside of the matrix. Try a spontaneous conversation, if you want to express that Aboriginal commandment, and really experience being human again, which is be creative every day. Try a spontaneous conversation with a thoughtful person. Accept that good and respectful people were heavily dumbed down over the last million years, and particularly the last 20 years, since they attempted and successfully forced everyone to humans 1.5, which is let's see the hottest looking girls, teenagers, 20-somethings or whatever, with 3 chins like they were 80 years old. If you look at them from the side angle. Because they were texting for hours every day. Accept that good and respectful people have always lived on this planet, but they're going to try to erase that from your memory. And that good and respectful people were heavily dumbed down and enslaved through torture and isolation over all these wars, all these mind control operations by these masterful ETs. Accept that this false reality is ending. Accept some kind of community. I know I ask you to accept the unacceptable, but I learned from the ancient tantric Mahayana text. It's truth. It's what they would say, but it's not lazy. It doesn't mean. The Chogyam Trungpa's first book was called Meditation in Action. It's just, that's where it's at. So, because when you are in the heat of a battle or the moment, and you remember the teachings of Jesus or the Buddha, and you actually don't respond as an idiot, and you actually don't feed the archonic thugs who think they're your gods, and you actually don't feed the matrix, you win in that battle. You keep your energy. You might walk around the corner and see the hottest woman that you should probably date or whatever. Sometimes that's how it would work out. The universe appreciates it. The Christ Sophia, the original force, the original creator appreciates you for that, man. I've noticed that, man. They'll often give you a little reward like that, because you maintain your vibration, you kept your frequency up, and whoever was so traumatized, they're trying to drag you into their mud, and you didn't. So it's a frequency game, the psychological war. So begin now. You are welcome to this electronic 2D isolated community here, but the algorithm supports expansion into gatekept fluff. Is it possible that in some cases it might support expansion into the truth? Or just don't let it get too big, right? Or I don't know, maybe if I was half as cute as Gene or John on Inspired, begin now by connecting in a way that is harmless. When you know God, as it's known popularly, is the force of removal of Christ or God within your religions removed and destroyed the real creator within you. This is why they shadow ban my content from the Yahweh thing, because it's the reason why they had to hang Yeshua on the cross, which I'm not sure if they did or not, but supposedly, is because he really taught people the real creators within you. You don't need the church. You don't need the government. You don't need these Anunnaki, other Anunnaki deity, because he was the one that's coming down to tell you the truth. So, and how do they remove the force of God within you? It's through the fear, the guilt. the reason why you don't have if you think you don't have psychic powers or telepathy or be able to remote view, even in my case, or there's so many things that through lowering your vibration through trauma bond, a million years of trauma bond to the fallen angels. I mean, they've done a great job. They convince you that you're this little me, this one spirit in this flesh suit, this little fragment of Christ, this little ray of distorted Christ light through the mirrors of the narcissist prison, psychological prison of Lucifer 4. You become this, I've seen that. I could say their names, but I'm not going to do it. But I could see, people think that the CIA might have thought they could do that to me, but you become imprisoned by your reflection of your own self and your own thoughts in this endless mirrored room, cage. And that's what the mainstream media mind control does to people if you're not aware of it, and especially if you have a higher IQ or you want to have a great life, and they imprison you with your ego so far down that you can't actually connect with anyone else unless you heal NPD abuse within your subconscious even a little bit. You can't really communicate with people in a healthy way ever. So this is how they do it. So the dogma can even do that, but especially just someone who's a Luciferian or just does what they're told and doesn't believe anything, or atheist, very easy. So Christ, the real teachings of Christ puts your power back where in what Sam Vaknin calls the proper locus of control, which is inside of yourself. That is why it's been censored. That's why they burned down the Cathar village and they tried to, destroy these teachings. Because the only place there's going to be a second coming, the only place Christ can free you now, here, is within. I love being alone. I mean, I have Mercury and Capricorn retrograde in my zodiac birth chart. Aloneness, quiet time, meditation, those are some really key things to being a decent, balanced human. I think solitude for me, nature and meditation are often essential in waking up. Community, however, obviously community, or ideally hierogamic heterosexual union, is essential in actualizing or remembering what the divine Christ, Namulu, human self, really is capable of. I mean, the ganja or any other plant medicine or ayahuasca and all those things, or peyote, sure, you can get a temporary glimpse or memory, but if you can actually find someone that's not an alien love bite, but someone that you're actually compatible with for real, who's not there to harm you, but actually grow together, then see, this is the one thing that it seems that the archons and the fallen angels want to prevent the most, because see, that's the most powerful thing. And then if you reproduce with that your divine hierogamic soulmate, then that child will be a divine Christed being. And see, this is what they really don't want the most. Okay, that's why they want you to go off. That's why they set up these alien love bites, particularly for someone who's handsome or powerful or intelligent or whatever, who's going to, really intent on saving the world or helping people, and, they'll send them in. It's just watch, But when you know these things, when you've read Eve Lorgan's book or heard about it, it gives you the tools. This is why, I can't do the shadow work for you, but the point of all this ministry is to give you the tools, the memories, the fragments of thoughts, of awareness that help you, to guide you back toward the real, which is that, you're a divine being having a temporary flesh suit experience. You were given free will, and that the Matrix has tried to, repurpose this into a human energy sucking farm and steal your free will, or make your free will a multiple choice question, But it takes a lot of courage to. It's possible that humans can transcend it, though, and but we're gonna have to get together to do that, because they can control the weather and all this other shit to really attack those who exercise their free will, obviously. So if you don't pick one of the multiple choice questions, like whatever they offer in college, for example, because the 1% robber barons have long, for 50 years at least, since before I was born, pretty much slowly through financing controlled a lot more and more of the curriculum at the colleges, if not 90% of it, Of course, the Brotherhoods probably started the colleges, so there you go. So, but I think for most people, it's essential to have the divine couple and actualizing or remembering what the divine Christ, Namulu, human self, really is. It's like, if you only have a physical half of a yin-yang, how are you going to remember? I mean, some homosexuals or some monks, some celibates or some tantric celibates, I mean, there's people that can just, who don't, there's a tiny fraction of humanity that can go without or whatever, or have their own different separate radical weird practice or something like that. But it's rare. And most people, it pretty much makes people go insane, or they remain a psychological child, So we really need a balance of both. However, though, solitude and time with other people, not a forced, permanent financial sequestering, which is obviously what your mortal gauge is. The false self gods built all the castles, all these intricate government contracts. The devil got in the details of all these great scams and Ponzi scams, and they made up all these brilliant, magic money that has no gold. They stole all the gold from Fort Knox, and then it's like, okay, it's valuable because we all believe in it. It's a magic money. They made all these brilliant mind control tricks. They made up all these religions. They made up all this. They kept us running endless wars just for the Blush farm. I mean, they did a great job in what they've done, but they fucked up when they gave us the internet, and now we've used it to learn what's happening. So the false self gods built all the castles, moats, wars, and mandates. Christ Yeshua came to bring a sword to the demiurge. It says in one of those scriptures, I don't know, I did not come to bring peace, but I came to bring a sword. And in the house I will put the father or the son against the mother and the whatever. And he's talking about how, some will be an NPC or narcissist, non-believer, atheist, or hater, and others will become one with the Holy Ghost, and so he was probably, Anunnaki blood or whatever, but Christ, Yeshua came to bring a sword to the demiurge, an Anunnaki against slavery. And again, we have them now. We have Dr. Drew. Or maybe he's on both sides like a politician, but we do have those, or Naomi Wolf. We do have those out there now that are on the side of freedom, that have that in their blood, sharing possibly, the chosen ones. Why do you think they call them that? Sharing the great joy of awakened spirit, even in a sacred globe, repurposed so masterfully, especially with the geoengineering, to be a big, nasty, energy-sucking human energy harvest farm. The gospel of truth is a lovely version of this, man. It's because it tells you a different story. So enjoy it. The Gospel of Truth is a Christian Gnostic text with clear affinities to the Valentinian school, offering a subtle yet moving reflection on the person and work of Jesus. The tractate has no explicit title in the manuscript and is known by its insipid. Many other works in antiquity, such as the Gospel of Mark and the Revelation of John, were similarly identified by their opening words. The work is divided into 3 large blocks of exposition separated by 2 formally distinctive units, a festive litany on the word and a paranetic appeal. Each of these blocks of exposition also contains 3 thematically different sections. The Gospel of Truth's combination of literary and conceptual sophistication with genuine religious feeling suggests much better than the rather dry accounts of Gnostic systems why the teaching of Valentinus and his school had such an appeal for many Christians of the 2nd century. The gospel of truth is joy for those who have received from the Father of truth the grace of knowing him through the power of the word that came forth from the pleroma, through the veil, the one who is in the thought and the mind of the Father. That is, the one who is addressed as the Savior, that being the name of the work he is to perform for the redemption of those who were ignorant of the Father, while in the name of the gospel is the proclamation of hope, being discovery for those who search for him. When the totality went about searching for the one from whom they had come forth, and the totality was inside of him, the incomprehensible, inconceivable one who is superior to every thought, ignorance of the Father brought about anguish and terror, and for the anguish grew solid like a fog, so that no one else was able to see. For this reason error became powerful. It worked on its own matter, foolishly, and not having known the truth, it set about with the creation, preparing with power and beauty the substitute for the truth. Okay, now which God are they speaking about there? This was not then a humiliation for him, the incomprehensible, inconceivable one, which I'm taking to mean the original creator, for they were nothing, the anguish and the oblivion, or Christ Sophia, or a portion of it that created us. For they were nothing, the anguish and the oblivion and the creature of deceit, while the established truth is immutable, imperturbable, perfect in beauty. So here we have when the creator was allowed to bring, when Sophia, or whoever you want to call it, was allowed to bring in forth error, then the error created anguish and terror, and the anguish grew into an actual fog. So this was probably the beginning of the creation of the fallen ones. So this was not then a humiliation, because the creator, had allowed it to happen. It was so to the real creator, they were nothing, the anguish and the oblivion and the creature of deceit, while the established truth is immutable, imperturbable, perfect in beauty. For this reason, despise error. Thus it had no root. It fell into a fog regarding the Father, or the real creator, while it was involved in preparing works and oblivion and terrors, in order that by means of these it might entice those of the middle and capture them. So this is the beginning of, the whole matrix schema we're in now. They've started to create all these ideas to capture us. The oblivion of error was not revealed. It is not from the Father, or the real, divine Christ Sophia. Oblivion did not come into existence from the Father, or perhaps, when they say the Father, it's the Father of Christ Sophia. Oblivion did not come into existence from the Father, although it did indeed come into existence because of him. But what comes into existence in him is knowledge, which appeared in order that oblivion might vanish and the Father might be known. That line right there is the basic tenet for this be truth in Gnosticism, and the truth that will inherently, eventually, set you at least to some degree free, the awareness of what's happening, and what, if you even approach even a tiny fraction of your potential of learning, and so knowledge appeared in order that oblivion might vanish and the real creator might be known. Since oblivion came into existence because the creator was not known, then the creator, comes to be known. Oblivion will not exist from that moment on. Through this, the gospel of the one who is searched for, which is or was revealed to those who were perfect through the mercies of the real creator, the Christ Sophia, the hidden mystery. Jesus, or Yeshua, the physical man they called Christ, enlightened those who were in darkness through oblivion. They said he went and hung out with the beggars and the winos and started preaching on the street, and he enlightened them. He showed them a way. And the way is the truth which he taught them. For this reason, error grew angry at him, persecuted him, and distrusted him, and was brought to naught. He was nailed to a tree, and he became a fruit of the knowledge of the Father. It did not, however, cause destruction, because it was eaten. Yeah, because some of these disciples, and they wrote their books, and they shared the wisdom. And it did not cause destruction because it was eaten, but to those who ate it, it gave cause to become glad after they were raging angry. And the discovery, he was discovered then, he discovered them in himself. In other words, he felt that they were enlightened in the oneness that he taught them, and they discovered him in themselves. As for the incomprehensible, inconceivable one, the Father, or the Mother Father, the divine original creator, the perfect one, the one who made the totality, within her is the totality, and of her the totality has need. Although she retained their perfection within herself, when she did not give to the totality, the mother was not jealous. The real Father was not jealous. What jealousy indeed could there be between himself and his members? For if this aeon had thus received their perfection, they could not have come from the Father. So, if we all hadn't been granted the possibility of free will or the chance to learn in this beautiful hijacked planet, before it was hijacked, it wouldn't be his will or her will. She retains within herself their perfection, granting it to them as a return to her, and a perfectly unitary knowledge. It is she who fashioned the totality, and within her is the totality, and the totality was in need of her. As in the case of a person of whom some are ignorant, he or she wishes to have them know her and love her so, for what did the totality have need of, if not knowledge regarding the real Father? He became a guide, respectful and leisurely. In schools he appeared, and he spoke the word as a teacher. There came the men wise in their own estimation, putting him to the test. But he confounded them because they were foolish. They hated him because they were not really wise. After all these, there came the little children also, those to whom the knowledge of the Father belongs. Having been strengthened, they learned about the impressions of the Father. They knew, they were known, they were glorified, they were manifested in their heart. The living book of the living, the one written in the thought and in the mind of the true Creator, which from before the foundation of the totality was within his incomprehensibility, him or her, that book which no one was able to take, since it remains for the one who will take it to be slain. No one could have become manifest from among those who have believed in salvation unless that book had appeared. If they had never heard the story, they wouldn't know if they could believe it. For the reason the merciful one, the faithful one, Jesus or Yeshua, was patient in accepting sufferings until he took that book, since he knows that his death is life for many. In other words, number 15. In other words, he knew even whether they nailed him to the cross or it was not him. He knew when they were coming to kill him that it would spread the truth to more people. Just as there lies hidden in a will before it is opened, the fortune of the deceased master of the house, so it is with the totality, which lay hidden while the Father of the totality was invisible, being something which is from him, from whom every space comes forth. For this reason, Christ appeared. He put on that book. He was nailed to a tree. He published the edict of the Father to the cross, or it might be this book. He published the edict of the Father on the cross. Oh, such great teachings. He draws himself down to death through life eternal clothes him. Though life eternal clothes him. Having stripped himself of the perishable rags, he puts on him imperishability. In other words, he steps into his light body, his Christ, his second body, his living energy body, his eternal form of light. He put on imperishability, which no one can possibly take away from him. And he can make the sun shine through the clouds if I really bring his essence in here a little bit. Having entered the empty spaces of terrors, he passed through those who were stripped naked by oblivion, being knowledge and perfection, proclaiming the things that are in the heart. He was really the master of going back to the heart. Teaching those who were, which is super ironic when you consider the Anunnaki brought this narcissism. Being knowledge and perfection, proclaiming the things that are in the heart, teach those that will receive teaching. But those who are to receive teaching are the living, who are inscribed in the book of the living. It is about themselves that they receive instruction, receiving it from the Creator, turning again to him or her. Since the perfection of the totality is in the Creator, it is necessary for the totality to ascend to it. Then, if one has knowledge, he receives what are his own and draws them to himself. For he who is ignorant is in need, and what he lacks is great, since he lacks that which will make him perfect. Since the perfection of the totality is in the Creator, and it is necessary for the totality to ascend to him, and for each to receive what are his own, he enrolled them in advance, having prepared them to give to those who came forth from him. Those whose name he knew in advance were called at the end, so that one who has knowledge is the one whose name the Father has uttered. For he whose name has not been spoken is ignorant. I'm not sure if all this was what this was all about. Indeed, how is one to hear if his name has not been called? For he who is ignorant until the end is a creature of oblivion, and he will vanish along with it. If not, how is it that these miserable ones have no name? How is it that they do not have the call? I think this means that they didn't remember the Creator within them, and they lost the real identity to the actual Creator, the will to create. Therefore, if one has knowledge, he is from above. If he is called, he hears, he answers, and he turns to him who is calling him and ascends to him. And he knows in what manner he is called. Having knowledge, he does the will of the one who called him. He wishes to be pleasing to him. He receives rest. And I was just thinking about this a moment ago, and this is in a lot of scriptures, both the Gnostics and the New Testament, about how that you receive rest. When you're born again or you're really enlightened, you receive rest. Well, it's because you don't identify with the matrix or the Luciferian false self. It's always keeping you stressed out. Your ego, it's always keeping you stressed out. Your false self, the archonic mind, is always keeping you stressed out. So yeah, it's not just the salvationist Protestant. It's like if you have the wisdom, it teaches you the truth, then you realize, okay, it's up to me. If I'm going to be at peace, it's my job. And these archons are masters at preventing me from peace, okay. Once you can accept that, you can have periods of rest. But if you think you have to take it all personally, if you're a hero archetype, you're going to ever come to rest. Each one's name comes to him. He who is to have knowledge in this manner knows where he comes from. Okay? You know that you don't come from the false self. You know that you don't come from the false junior gods who are such masters of mind control. Okay? He knows where he comes from and where he is going. He knows as one who, having become drunk, has turned away from his drunkenness, or in my case, actually turned away from drunkenness, and having returned to himself, has set right what are his own. He has brought many back from error. He has gone before them to their places, from which they had moved away, since it was on account of the depth that they received error. The depth of the one who encircles all spaces, while there is none that encircles him. Could that be the demiurge or Lucifer? The depth of that dark angel of the airwaves, the depth of their control. Could it be the depth of the magic, black magic in the air? It was a great wonder that they were in the Father. In other words, it was a great wonder that the fallen angels could do all these horrible tricks and still be here, not knowing him, not knowing the real Creator, Christ Sophia, and that they were able to come forth by themselves or by the demiurge, Yaudabaoth, or Lucifer, since they were unable to comprehend or to know the one in whom they were, since they were totally cut off from their connection to the real Creator in their heart, losing their heart connection to the Christ Sophia. For if the Creator's will had not thus emerged from her, and she revealed it in view of a knowledge in which all of its emanations concur. The writer here is still perplexed about how the devil was able to do all these amazing tricks. So this is the knowledge of the living book which he received to the aeons at the end of as his letters, revealing how they are not vowels, nor are they consonants, so that one might not read them and think of something foolish, but they are telling of the truth, which they alone speak who know them. Each letter is a complete thought, like a complete book, since they are letters written by the unity, the Father having written them for the aeons in order that by means of his letters they should know the Father or the real Creator. While his wisdom contemplates the word and his teachings utters it, his knowledge has revealed it. While forbearance is a crown upon it, and his gladness is in harmony with it, his glory has exalted it, his image has revealed it. His response has received it unto itself. His love has made a body over it. His fidelity has embraced it. In this way, the word of the real Creator gives forth in the totality as the fruit of her heart and an impression of her will. But it supports the totality. It chooses them and also receives the impression of the totality, purifying them, bringing them back into the mother, into the Father, Jesus of the infinite sweetness. In this sentence, the actual original writer did say mother and father. So sometimes they do actually go into a completely non-dual creator cosmology. The Father reveals his bosom. Right there. Now, he's not talking about Baphomet, but they're talking about, the original one. Now, the bosom is the Holy Spirit. She reveals what is hidden of her. What is hidden of her is her Son, so that is through the mercies of the Mother, Father, the aeons, many know her, and cease laboring in search of the Father or the Mother, resting there in him, knowing that this is the rest. Having filled the deficiency, she has abolished the form. The form of it is the world, that in which she served. So Christ Sophia has admitted this world is fallen, that she messed up, somehow in the creation of it with Yaldabaoth, the demiurge, or Lucifer, or whatever name you want to call him, that it was a mistake. For the place where there is envy and strife is deficient. But the place where there is unity is perfect. Yes, I thank you to the great Creator, the real, and the words of the real enlightened ones. Since the deficiency came into being because the Father was not known, the real Creator, therefore, when the Father is known, from that moment on, the deficiency will no longer exist. Once you take the red pill, once you are really born again, once you are really enlightened, you do not have the stupid ass need to fight wars and be in deficiency. As in the case of the ignorance of a person, when he comes to have knowledge, his ignorance vanishes of itself. As the darkness vanishes when light appears, so also the deficiency vanishes in the perfection. So from the moment on, the form is not apparent, but it will vanish in the fusion of unity. For now their works lie scattered in the unity. For now their works lie scattered. In time, unity will perfect the spaces. It is within unity that each one will attain himself. Within knowledge, he will purify himself from multiplicity into unity, consuming matter within himself like fire, and darkness by light, death by life. If indeed these things have happened to each of us, then we must see to it, above all, that the house will be holy and silent for the unity. It is as in the case of some people who moved out of dwellings, have jars that on spots were not good. They would break them, and the master of the house would not suffer loss. Rather, he is glad, because in place of the bad jars there are full ones which are made perfect. For such is the judgment which has come from above. It is past judgment on everyone. It is a drawn sword with two edges, cutting on either side. When the word appeared, the one that is within the heart of those who utter it, it is not a sound alone, but it became a body. A great disturbance took place among the jars, because some had been emptied, others filled. That is, some had been supplied, others poured out. Some had been purified, still others broken up. All the spaces were shaken and disturbed, because they had no order nor stability. Error was upset, not knowing what to do. It was grieved in mourning, afflicting itself, because it knew nothing. When knowledge drew near it, this is the downfall of error and all of its emanations. Error is empty, having nothing inside. Truth appeared. All its emanations knew it. They greeted the Creator in truth with a perfect power that joins them with the Creator. For as for everyone who loves the truth, because the truth is the mouth of the Creator. Her tongue is the Holy Spirit. She who is joined to the truth is joined to the Creator's mouth by her tongue. Whenever she is to receive the Holy Spirit, since this is the manifestation of the Mother, Father, the real Creator, and her revelation to her eons, she manifested what was hidden of her. She explained it. For who contains, if not the real Creator alone? All the spaces are her emanations. They have known that they came forth from him like children who are from a grown man. They know that they had not yet received form, nor yet received a name, each one of which the Father begets. Then when they receive form by his knowledge, through truly within him, they do not know him. But the Father is perfect, knowing every space within him. If he wishes, he manifests whomever he wishes by giving him form and giving him a name, and he gives him a name to him and brings it about that those who came into existence, who before they came into existence, are ignorant of him who fashioned them. Now see, that could have been, I'm not sure which God that's talking about, but I do not say then that they are nothing at all who have not yet come into existence, but they are in him who will wish that they came into existence when he wishes, like the time that is to come. But all things appear, he knows that what he will produce. But the fruit which is not yet manifest does not know anything, nor does it do anything. Thus, also, every space, which is itself is the Father, is from the one who exists, who established it, from what does not exist. And this is one of the keys to my existence style on this planet, for example. For he who has no root has no fruit either, and one of my problems right there. He who has no fruit has no root either, but though he thinks to himself, I have come into being, yet he will perish by himself. No man is an island. For this reason, he who did not exist at all will never come into existence. What then did he wish him to think of himself? This: I have come into being like the shadows and phantoms of the night. When the light shines on the terror, when that person has experienced, he knows that it is nothing. Thus they were ignorant of the Father, he being the one whom they did not see. Since it was a terror and a disturbance and instability and doubt and division, there were many illusions at work by means of these, and there were empty fictions. And if they were sunk in sleep and found themselves in disturbing dreams, either there is a place from which they are fleeing, or without strength they come from having chased after others, or they are involved in striking blows, or they are receiving blows themselves, or they have fallen from high places, or they take off into the air, though they do not even have wings. Again, sometimes It is as if people were murdering them, though there is no one even pursuing them, or they themselves are killing their neighbors, for they have been stained with their blood. When those who are going through all these things wake up, they see nothing. They who are in the midst of all these disturbances, for they are nothing. Such is the way of those who have cast ignorance aside from them like sleep, not esteeming it as anything, nor do they esteem its works as solid things either. Very key points here, folks. Very key Gnostical points here. They are nothing. Such is the way of all those who have cast ignorance aside from them like sleep, not esteeming it as anything, nor do they esteem its works as solid things either. But they leave them behind like a dream in the night. The knowledge of the Father they value, or the real Creator, as the dawn. This is the way each one has acted, as though asleep at the time when he was ignorant. And this is the way he has come to knowledge, as if he had awakened. And good for the man who will return and awaken. And blessed is he who has opened the eyes of the blind. And the Spirit ran after him, hastening from wakening him up. While their hope for which they are waiting is in waiting, they whose image is light with no shadow in it, then at that time the pleroma is proceeding to come. The deficiency of matter came to be not through the limitlessness of the Creator, who is coming to give time for the deficiency, although no one could say that the incorruptible one would come in this way. But if the depth of the Creator was multiplied and the thought of error did not exist within it, it is a thing that falls. It is a thing that easily stands upright again in the discovery of the Creator who has come to him who shall bring back the Creator. For the bringing back is called repentance. And again, I replaced a lot of hims and hers and it's and this, and it's notwithstanding, I just do that for personal preference. I mean, some of these fragments, it doesn't even end the sentence, so it's open interpretation. For this reason, incorruptibility, and plus we were in the patriarchal society back then, keep it in mind. For this reason, incorruptibility breathed forth. It is pursued the one who has sinned in order that he might rest. For forgiveness is what remains for the light in the deficiency, the word of the pleroma. For the physician runs to the place where sickness is, because that is what that is in him. He who has a deficiency then does not hide it, because one has what the other lacks. So the pleroma, which has no deficiency, but fills up the deficiency, is what he provided from himself for filling up what he lacks, in order that therefore he might receive the grace. For when he was deficient, he did not have the grace. That is why there was diminution existing in the place where there is no grace. When that which was diminished was received, diminution. When that which was diminished was received, he revealed what he lacked, being now a pleroma. That is the discovery of the light of truth which rose upon him, because it is immutable. That is why Christ was spoken of in their midst. so that those who were disturbed might receive a bringing back, and he might anoint them with the ointment. The ointment is the mercy of the Father, who will have mercy on them, because those whom he has anointed are the ones whom have become perfect. For full jars are the ones that are usually anointed, but when the anointing of one jar is dissolved, it is emptied, and the reason for there being a deficiency is the thing by which its anointment goes. For at that time a breath draws it, a thing in the power of that which was in it. But from him who has no deficiency, no seal is removed, nor is anything emptied, but which he lacks the perfect Father fills again. He is good. He knows his plantings, because it is he who planted them in his paradise. Now, his paradise is the place of rest. This is the perfection in the thought of the original divine creator, and these are the words of his meditation. Each one of his words is the work of his will and the revelation of his word. When they were still depths of his thought, the word, which was first to come forth, revealed them along with the mind that speaks, the one word in silent grace. And I really wonder if that was the silent A or the Om. He was called thought, since they were in it before being revealed. It came about then that he was first to come forth at that time when the will of him who will desired it. And the will is what the Father rests in and is pleased with. Nothing happens without him, nor does anything happen without the will of the Father, but his will is unsearchable. His trace is the will, and no one who knows him, nor is it possible for one to scrutinize him in order to grasp him. But when he wills, what he wills is this: even if the sight does not please them in any way before God, desiring the Father, for he knows the beginning of all of them and their end. For at their end he will question them directly. See, this could be talking about the junior God or the ultimate. I'm not sure. Now, the end is receiving knowledge. Now, I'm not saying that the Anunnaki are not masterful, usurpers, but or engineers. For at the end he will question them directly. Now, the end is receiving knowledge about the one who is hidden, and this is the Father, from whom the beginning came forth, to whom all will return who have come forth from him, and they have appeared for the glory and the joy of his name. Now the name of the Father is the Son. And this, I think, perhaps this is referring to the word Christ, or the name, whatever the real name of the original Spirit Creator is, It is he who first gave, or Christ Sophia as I call her. It is he who first gave a name to the one who came forth from him, which was himself, and he begot him a son. He gave him his name, which belonged to him. He is the one to whom belongs all that exists around him, the Father. He is the name, he is the Son. It is possible for him to be seen. This could have been Christ Yeshua as well. The name, however, is invisible. Like, it could have been the name Yeshua was hidden in, because it alone is the mystery of the invisible, which comes to ears that are completely filled with it by him. I mean, they're already using that word Jesus. For indeed, the Father's name is not spoken, but it is apparent through a Son. In this way, then, the name is a great thing. Who therefore will be able to utter a name for him, the great name, except him alone, to whom the name belongs, and the sons of the name, in whom rested the name of the Father, who in turn rested themselves in his name. Again, it says it quite a bit in the New Testament, which could be, for control or not, and then the Gnostics about the rest that they received, that they could chill and rest, knowing the truth. I think in this case, so. again, I think this writer's trying to put a patriarchal tone or a masculine tone onto something that's inconceivable, as they call it. So, who therefore will be able to utter a name for him, the great name, except him alone, to whom the name belongs, of the sons of the name, in whom rested the name of the Father, and a lot of names there, and who in turn themselves rested in his name. Since the Father is engendered, he alone is the one who begot him for himself as a name, before he brought forth the aeons, in order that the name of the Father should be over the head as Lord. That is the name in truth. This could have been what was called the fire letters, the fire codes of the Hebrew. I'm not certain what this is in reference to, which is infirm in his command through the perfect power. For the name is not from mere words, nor does his name consist of appellations, but it is invisible. He gave a name to him alone, since he alone sees him, he alone having the power to give him a name. For he who does not exist has no name, but in whom name is given to him who does not exist. But the one who exists also has his name, and he also knows it, and also knows how to give him a name. It is the Father, the Son is his name. He did not therefore hide it in the thing, but it existed. As for the Son, he alone gave it a name. The name, therefore, is that of the Father, as the name of the Father is the Son. Where indeed would compassion find a name except with the Father? Now, I'm really interested and curious as to know what everybody out there thinks. All this talk in the last several paragraphs about the name is referring to. Could it be a reference to the L, or some Anunnaki, or are they referring to the original creator, do you think? The original creator, Christ Sophia, or the creator of her, the original incomprehensible androgenous spirit that created her, But no doubt one will say to his neighbor, who is it who will give a name to him who existed before himself? As if offspring did not receive a name from those who begot them. First, then, it is fitting for us to reflect on this matter. What is the name? It is the name in truth. It is not therefore the name for the Father, the name from the Father, for it is the one which is the proper name. Therefore he did not receive the name on loan, as do others, according to the form in which each one is to be produced. But this is the proper name. Maybe this is the source of where some of these channelers or these born-again enlightened ET masters, they changed their name to something that they say has always been their name, There is no one else who gave it to him. And this is what they always claim. But he is unnameable, indescribable, until the time when he who is perfect spoke of him alone. And it is he who has the power to speak his name and to see it. When therefore it pleased him that his name, which is love, should be his Son, and he gave the name to him, that is, him who came forth from the depth. He spoke about his secret things, and knowing that the Father is a being without evil. This could be that, there was some, originally some good Anunnaki ETs, along with Enki and Enlil, and Yeshua was from the bloodline, that Christ came from the bloodline of the good Anunnakis, that were without evil. Or it could have been referring to Christ Sophia, of course. For that very reason, he brought him forth in order to speak about about the place and his resting place from which he had come forth, and to glorify the Pleroma, the greatness of his name and the sweetness of the Father. Jesus came and told everyone that God is love. When in this, and then the Roman Catholics and the Jews of that time, they put it, cut it up and put it into the Bible and cut it in with the Old Testament, the God that demanded blood sacrifice and all that. So it was obviously in great contradiction. So, which is where the Gnostic narrative comes in. So, knowing that the Father is a being without evil, for that very reason he brought him forth in order to speak about the place and his resting place from where he had come forth, and to glorify the Pleroma. About the place each one came from he will speak, and to the region where he received his establishment, the place where he stood, receiving a taste from that place, and receiving nourishment, receiving growth. And his own resting place is his Pleroma. I mean, could it be some of these channelers are really talking about the planets that came from, Therefore, all the emanations of the Father are Pleromas, and the root of all his emanations is in the one who made them all grow up in himself. He assigned them their destinies. Each one is manifest in order that through their own thought, it happens. For the place to which they send their thought, that place, their root, is what takes them up in all the heights to the Father. There's some good wisdom there. That thought is the key. They possess his head, which is rest for them, and they are supported approaching him, as though to say they have participated in his face by means of kisses. But they do not become manifest in this way, for they were not themselves exalted, yet neither did they lack the glory of the Father, nor did they think of him as small, nor that he is harsh, nor that he is wrathful, but that he is a being without evil, imperturbable. Think about it. If we have an original creator, a divine being who created all this and gave us free will, you're not going to be able to piss him off if, they're really the real original creator that gave us free will. And he is a being without evil, imperturbable, sweet, knowing all spaces before they have come into existence, and he had no need to be instructed. This is the manner of those who possess something from above of the immeasurable greatness, as they wait for the one above and the perfect, as they wait for the one alone and the perfect one and the one who is there for them. And they do not go down to Hades, nor have they envy, nor groaning, nor death within them. But they rest in him who is at rest, not striving, nor being twisted around the truth, but they themselves are the truth. And the Father is within them, and they are in the Father, being perfect, being undivided in the truly good one, being in no way deficient in anything. But they are set at rest, refreshed in the Spirit, and they will heed their root. They will be concerned with those things in which he will find his root, and not suffice loss to his soul, and not suffer loss to his soul. In other words, they won't They won't go down into the lower frequencies where the archons can suck them dry. They will remain in the pleroma, in the fullness of the majesty of the holy, sacred, living Christ being that's beautiful and without bullshit. For the rest then may they know in their places that it is not fitting for me, having come to be in the resting place, to speak of anything else. But it is in it that I shall come to be. And it is fitting to be concerned at all times with the Father of the all and the true brothers, those upon whom the love of the Father is poured out, and in whose midst there is no lack of him. They are the ones who appear in truth, since they exist in true and eternal life, and speak of the light, which is perfect, and filled with the seed of the Creator, and which is in his heart, and in the pleroma, which his Spirit rejoices in it, and glorifies the one in whom it existed, because he is good. And her children are perfect and worthy of her name, for she is the mother. It is the children of this kind that she loves. Of course, it gets jumbled in with the patriarchy, and I'm a heretic. But there you have it. One of the greatest, most as far as uplifting, truly hopeful Gnostic texts. Why is it hopeful? Because it reiterates the point. It drives in, hammers home the point. That, it is through your wisdom, your learning of the truth, that you will be, that's the real savior, the real, salvation is that when you can, even if you actualize a fraction of your potential as a Christos human, ensouled human being, you can, who knows what you can do for good or evil. But if you really want to ascend, if you really want to become one, with the eternal true Creator, and fly past the forced reincarnation plan, memory wipe, soul sucking harvest plan, you have to learn the truth. You have to be willing to allow the truth into your heart, and that's what I think that gospel is great about. And if you enjoyed it and you haven't already, of course, click subscribe, and I'll send you more. I'll make some shorter ones than this next time. And I like that the sacred clown Robert Bresney calls his column Free Will Astrology. This is Free Will Gnostic Talks, electronic church, the real church with no walls. Two or more gathered in the name Yeshua. Could that have been the name that they kept saying in that text that you're not allowed to utter? Was it Yahweh or Yeshua? Put in the comments what you think. And again, if you have the courage, folks, even if you're under some fake weather attack again, or have an NPC in the vicinity and narcissist telling you some crappy story, when you get away from them, create a great one, my family. Loving you. Peace. And remember, only you can awaken the true Christ within yourself.